The Thousand Year Door is a game that is very precious to my heart. As a kid, I would beat this game over and over and over again. I don't think there is a game out there that I've beaten more times than Paper Mario. I don't think there's a piece of media that's more nostalgic to me than Paper Mario. But as we grow older, some pieces of media no longer bring the same magic and wonder. We can see more flaws than we could before, and certain qualities may appear a bit more hollow than when we were impressionable young children. It's disheartening to learn that a once immensely cherished experience no longer reaches you close to the same way it did your first time through. It's a tough experience to go through, but one we must inevitably all face. But man, am I happy that is not what happened with my most recent playthrough of the Thousand Year Door. What an absolute treasure of a game. 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100. Talk about a once-in-a-lifetime lightning in a bottle miracle game. I still don't fully understand how all the stars aligned to make such a special game, but man did I find myself falling deeper in love with this game on this revisit than even my first playthrough back when I was an 8-year-old who thought anything Mario was peak. Sometimes the art that we once adored will become far lesser as we grow older, but other times we can see that we loved something because it was truly something spectacular. The Thousand Year Door has remained one of my absolute favorite pieces of media for almost 20 years, ever since I played it, and I never doubted the fact that it was one of my favorites for good reason. But after playing it when I'm much older and after experiencing so much more art to compare it to, I can more clearly see and appreciate what makes this game so brilliant and magical. Let's start with the changes and additions that the remake brought in. I went into this remake expecting to be pretty mixed since I hold the original in such high regard, and Nintendo sure hasn't made a Mario game that's as close to as incredible or unique as this one in a very, very long time. But man, was I delighted to discover that this remake was made with so much care and passion. The new animations on all the characters, the extra content, the quality of life changes, and the new breathtaking visuals all went a very, very long way for me. Someone at Nintendo clearly understood the magic that this game possesses, and they knew exactly how to build upon that beloved foundation. But what I loved the most about this remake by far was the music. The remixes are almost all bangers. There are so many new songs that do so much to add to the atmosphere and tone of the game, and it has one of the most dynamic soundtracks I've ever heard. There are so many songs in the game that will grow or change in loudness and instrumentation depending on what you're doing or how far you are in the game, which did wonders for my immersion. Straight up, if you were to tell me they gave the musicians an unlimited budget, and they were led by Toby Fox, Mozart, the Xenoblade composers, Beethoven, and Jesus Christ himself, I would believe you. I can't think of any other way that this soundtrack would be as spectacular as it is. Seeing this game with older, more experienced eyes helped me see and appreciate it in a new, higher light. But man, that soundtrack sure was also a huge part of my newfound love for this game. The Thousand Year Door has remained a deeply beloved treasure of mine for a long time, but I've always struggled to capture and much less articulate exactly why I love it as much as I do. But I think I get it now. When I reflect on pieces of media and why I love them so much, I tend to focus hard on the part that spoke to me the most. It is not that I don't see and love the other elements of the media I engage with, but I'm aiming for less of a fully comprehensive analysis and more of a really in-depth examination of just the part that spoke to me the most, and why. I usually find this helps me get to the true heart of the game and provides a reflection that everyone can understand where I'm coming from, even if they haven't experienced that piece of media themselves. But that does this game such a massive disservice. Because TTYD's biggest strength is that it has it all, and it does it all so well. It has a top tier story, characters, music, world building, lore, gameplay, combat, atmosphere, you name it. It's important that I emphasize how incredible TTYD is at each and every element that makes video games such a wonderful form of media. I am not saying that TTYD has an amazing story and characters for a Mario game. TTYD has an amazing story and characters, period. There's mystery, surprising plot twists, suspense, high stakes, thrilling moments, touching moments, and intense moments. I have played this game over 20 times, and yet there were still so many moments that genuinely gave me goosebumps and made my hair stand on end from how intense a moment was and how well the build-up and execution of that moment was. There were also moments that very much made me tear up. Hearing Bobbery's story of how he lost his wife when he went out to sea and was just waiting to die from heartbreak and guilt, and then seeing him read the letter from his wife telling him to sail the seas once more so that he doesn't lose both the loves of his life, absolutely crushed me. Man, let me tell you, a story like that sure hits me harder now than when I was an 8-year-old. And the characters have so much charm and personality, and genuinely experience growth throughout the game. They are written with so much love and care, and feel completely distinct in their humor, goals, and even just their way of talking. And wow, do so many of these characters have such a fun dynamic with Mario. It sure is surreal to see Super Mario interact with characters going through genuine trauma, or characters who are actual assholes and not just cartoon villains, or characters that are sassy or flirtatious with Mario. Sometimes that dynamic was heartwarming, sometimes it was hilarious, but either way, I loved it. I absolutely adore the story of this game, and it is very high on my list of reasons why I love TTYD so much. And there were so many more moments and themes within the story that have continued to have a tremendous impact on me. Normally the story is where I spend the most of my time in my reflections because I'm a very story-driven individual. But not this time. As much as I love the story and have a lot more to say about it, the story of this game doesn't capture what I believe is TTYD's biggest strength, nor does it capture the heart of why this game means so much to me. TTYD excels in everything it does and everything you'd want out of a video game. It exemplifies what it means to be a masterpiece. It reaches far beyond what you'd expect out of a video game, let alone a Mario game. High ambition can often come at the cost of faulty execution, but TTYD aims for the stars and soars past them with grace and confidence. To some extent, I feel that the phrase greater than the sum of its parts would be inappropriate for this game. I worry that phrase would undermine just how incredible the individual parts of this game are, but it does very much apply. Yes, this game excels in all of its individual elements, but it's when you put the sum of those parts together that this game shines as bright as it does. The individual elements of this game are something to admire, but when you're playing this game and feeling it all put together, I swear there's honest to God real magic here. I experience lots of art that has elements that I'll admire or cherish, but rarely does that culminate in the magical state of being that this game puts me in. A lot of that has to do with the game being the complete package, like I've been talking about. But there's one element in particular that I've been saving to talk about that gives it this magic. And this is where I believe TTYD's greatest strength and the heart of my love for it lies. See, while TTYD does excel in so many aspects such as story, characters, themes, world building, I also wouldn't say it's the absolute best in any of those regards. It doesn't have quite the level of profound, life-changing storytelling and themes of some of my other favorite games. But I do believe it is the absolute best when it comes to this quality. And that quality is variety. In just this one game, you explore a lost, ancient underground city, infiltrate and conquer an entire castle with a dragon waiting at the top, get your body and identity stolen and have to reclaim it from the greatest and funniest trickster of all time, fight your way to the top and become champion in a martial arts league with some sketchy undercover stuff happening in the background, go to the literal moon to take down an evil villain lair while one of the most banger songs of all time plays, get stranded on an island and have to find a way off that leads you to discover and explore a mega spooky lost pirates grotto, lead an army of pure-hearted tiny creatures to retaking their home, do some professional detective work on the most luxurious rich people train, and find out the shocking demonic truth of the literal thousand-year door. And each step of the way you meet so many colorful characters with a story to tell, and Mario must save the day in all sorts of completely different ways. In terms of stories, music, gameplay, atmosphere, visuals, tone, characters, and especially setting, TTYD has a level of variety that I haven't seen anywhere else. And again, it offers that variety and scale while also very competently maintaining an incredible overarching story, gameplay foundation, and soundtrack throughout the whole experience. That variety makes every second of the game so unbelievably thrilling, engrossing, and memorable. What's happening in one section of the game will be completely different than another in every sense imaginable. If it wasn't for the art style, I think most sections of this game would feel like a completely different game altogether. And yet, they also managed to make it all feel cohesive at the same time. Yes, TTYD is a turn-based RPG, but I also think leaving it at that grossly undersells all that this game has in store. I'd love to dive deeper into some of the sections of this game and what makes them so unique and lovable. But for this already super long reflection, let's just dive into my absolute favorite part of this game. My favorite section in any Mario game ever. And that's the finale of this game. At the end of this game, you learn that what waits on the other side of the thousand-year door isn't some incredible treasure, but actually an ancient 1,000-year-old demon capable of overtaking the world. And the antagonist of this game, who is a capable, intimidating mastermind, a far cry from Bowser, is going to use Peach as a host for the demon to possess. Talk about high stakes and dark territory. With the stakes higher than anything Mario has ever faced before, he ventures beyond the thousand-year door, and what he finds is one of the most atmospheric, twisted, foreign settings I have ever seen in a game, let alone a Mario game. This place oozes with mystery, a sense of forbiddenness, a foreboding evil. There's a section in this massive underground palace with what feels like an entire lost city. There's another dragon here that's far worse than the dragon you faced earlier. There's creatures that are far more twisted, alien, and powerful than the enemies that Mario is used to facing. All of this is amplified by some of the most atmospheric and haunting visuals and music I've ever experienced. And knowing this is all leading to an ancient demon fills me with a level of tension, uneasiness, and dread that's far beyond what I get from the end of most games. It has been 20 years since I first experienced this area, and yet I still had goosebumps my entire way through. And speaking of that demon, this demon is not a cartoon villain. This is not a Mario villain. When I was younger, I used to think Mario was an unstoppable force, unflinching and capable of anything. But I vividly remember seeing this demon and doubting Mario for the first time in my life. This sure wasn't Bowser. The music and visuals of the final room, along with the design of the demon and the whole needing Peach's body to possess, does a whole lot to make this feel like a real demon, and not some Mario-fied demon. She is terrifying. But that terror, that high stakes, that haunting aura makes this finale so much more spectacular to me. This isn't the finale of a Mario game. This is the finale of one of the greatest adventures ever. Truly the greatest battle of Mario's life. An evil far beyond anything he will ever know. And for the start of this battle, it feels impossible. But through all of the people Mario's connected with and helped over his journey, he finds the courage and strength to overcome a literal demon. What an ending. What a game. I loved Mario long before I knew of my obsession with heroes and protagonists. I loved Mario long before I knew what love was. He was my very first hero, my first love. But as I've grown older, my love and admiration for him has fallen more and more. I crave rich stories with deep themes led by altruistic, insightful, and inspirational heroes. And you sure won't find that in most Mario games. I will always love Mario, and he will always be my most precious childhood hero. But I won't deny the fact that I have found heroes that have taught me so much more, inspired me so much more, and that I love so much more. But this isn't your typical Mario game. No. This is Mario's grandest, most important adventure. Mario may still be far from the most altruistic or interesting hero, even in this game. But ironically, I also think this was an adventure that only Mario can do. I can't see that many heroes doing detective work on a luxurious train, going to the moon, befriending and helping so many different kinds of people, and defeating a demon all in just one adventure. When I think about all the different people you befriend and help throughout this adventure, the incredible variety of settings you'll visit and things you'll do, and the grandiose story with one of the most intense, high-stakes finales I've ever experienced, well, I wouldn't say TTYD is an adventure of a lifetime. Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door is the adventure of a lifetime. And it's an adventure that I got to experience with my first love, Mario. There was a moment while I was playing through this game where I realized that I was immersed and engrossed in a way that's far beyond where I normally get while playing games. I was so in awe of the love and passion put into this remake, and I very much was feeling like I was experiencing the adventure of a lifetime. I was so engrossed, in fact, that there was no part of me that felt the weight of not doing enough to help those that are suffering. There is no part of me that felt the weight and heartache of not having soulmate love in my life. No matter the day, no matter what I'm doing, to some extent I am always feeling the weight of those two things. But as I dove deeper and deeper into this game, with eyes that more clearly saw the brilliance and magic than when I was younger, those weights completely vanished. All my weights, fears, and heartaches vanished. I was so in awe and enraptured that there was no room for anything but wondrous joy and the highest fondness. When I paused and realized how much joy this game was bringing me and how long I went without feeling the things that weigh heavy on my soul, I started to cry. I started to cry hard. As I've grown older, I've become a very emotional person. It doesn't take a lot for me to cry. But, man, it's been a long, long time since I've cried tears of joy. This game may have not taught me things like my other favorite games have, but it brings a light to my soul unlike any other. And for that, I will continue cherishing and praising this game as one of the highest pieces of art I have ever experienced.